Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So I think at the end of last week, everyone was frustrated. The Bulls were frustrated. The Bears were frustrated. The title of Redler Morning Note this morning or something like that was frustration, aggression. Within there, talked about probably just enough to then resolve a direction or at least some type of clean move, because the market doesn't want to give away money. They want to make sure that nobody or as little amount of people is along for a ride when something takes place. That's why typically things happen, once you're just done with it. The market just has a really good way of doing that. So with that said, last week I talked about glass half full. What happens if the NASDAQ holds the neckline or doesn't even get down there, or the Russell, is a fake out to the downside, and Facebook holds its neckline, and you look at the chart of the SPY and you'll see that it has an inverted head and shoulders pattern, but that really isn't a pattern, But anyway, drew it like this just to say what if, this accumulation type pattern leads to a breakout to the upside. And I think we talked about that on this day, right around here. So at this point, a few more days went by when they pushed it this way, pushed it that way. Then on Friday, sneaky. They had a nice close. For those on the virtual trade floor saw that on Friday. I went along the spiders because it looked like a worthy trade, as well as Apple that it came down to 580. But anyway, even if you didn't today, you had a small chance. You go to the spiders and you will see you had a gap up today. Right above all resistance, I believe 187, what was it? It was 188.75. We've talked about this being resistance for a while besides this little area. So if you go to your just say 5-minute chart and you're like, oh, I need a way in, how do I get in? I don't have anything overnight because I don't take overnights. Well, actually, let's go to the 3-minute chart even, because you could see it a little bit differently. You had you had your gap up, and then literally it retested the gap for a half a second, and then really you had to let's take off time, the 24-hour time template here, so you could see, let's go east. So here's your gap up. So you had to know your levels, you had to think fast, and make maneuvers, and that's what we do as traders. So here's your gap up. One red bar engulfed it. Here was your buy right around 189-ish when it took that out, and then it definitely wasn't a barn burner trade, but it then went sideways for the majority of the day after making this initial move and digesting the gap, and then from here, we closed at highs somewhere around 189.78 above the intraday high of 189.70. So a clean breakout. So I'm not saying we're not going to have the fake out. We're going to have, clear sell into 1920, 1940, 1980. I don't know. But at least today, you saw the stars align. High beta tech got stronger on Friday. A lot of people on our site pointed it out. I'm not going to name names. You know who it is. We were able to switch some gears from long, short, and, be flexible and then be able to take advantage of some of it. And let's hope it continues, because if things loosen up and traders need things to do, a lot of these day one type of longs could turn into day two, day three. A lot of these descending channels that we were talking about in tech could resolve to the upside and make new trends. And then also, you can get some cleaner moves in the indices. We talked on the Qs real quickly this morning in the morning call about this area right here, gapped above it and closed above now this 88. So at this point, perhaps negating the head and shoulders pattern, negating the weakness that everyone was pointing to at the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. But if you trade in the moment, here is a red dog reversal when the bears lost control. Here is a higher low, higher low, higher low, and then now a little bit of follow through. So we'll see what happens next. You go to the Russell. This is the BIOS, not quite there yet, but on its way. If you reversed here when we reclaimed the 200-day. We all know this is a red dog reversal at 222, and you were thinking short because a lot of people were thinking short. Maybe you made an adjustment here and you didn't lose money you didn't need to, or maybe you even got long here, and today was a nice day, and now we'll see what happens perhaps into this tomorrow. You go to some of the names in here. Guild, a little bit above 80. I think a lot were focusing on Celgene. Celgene was in the morning note, which gave you a better trade, even though Guild is stronger, but nice trade above this little flag type pattern if you took it. looks like you could probably continue a little bit there. Some were looking at this BIIB. This also, all you can ask for is tight patterns, and here's a tight pattern, a little reversal on Friday, so it was worth a feeler. Today was probably your day 2 continue or confirmation, and then maybe tomorrow you get your day 3 to sell some into this. And then you go into tech. We were talking about Google's relative strength on Friday. On my personal Twitter feed, I put in the ascending and descending channel. Okay, here is your ascending channel that broke right here to the downside. Then we drew this morning, and looks like after reversing at the 200-day on Friday, and then a lot of guys were mentioning and talking about. I'm sorry that I wasn't in it. Nice clean day today. Looks like this thing could, if the market just stays in, stays stays, I wouldn't say intact, or doesn't need to be that powerful, but you have a quick little level right here, and then it seems like it could work its way back to 560. But actually, I'm sorry that I'm not in this because it's still only a 2-day move. It doesn't look like it's overbought. A little hard to get in, but still very strong. You had a quick little move today where it was up $4, came in, held the gap, and then took off. Netflix also showed relative strength on Friday, and I know it's not making new highs and it's not the momentum name of the past, but if you sold it when it broke these key levels here, and you saw this tail and a higher low and this little pivot here, now took back to 200-day, and now there's even a little bit of a setup right here. I know last time we thought this 3-day setup would lead to follow through, led to a lower move, but now it's right back here again. So perhaps tomorrow would be nice if the futures are down a little bit and this is down a little bit.Maybe you get a nice tradable move through this pivot, and then we'll see if it has some strength. It seems like this time's a little bit different. We shall see. Other names, Amazon still broken, but here is a look at this tactical red dog reversal right here. So you could have been long this 286.68 with a stop at the low on Friday, and then got yourself a nice day and a half trade. And this too seems like you can get another 6-7 points as an active trader. That's a lot of money. That's 309-ish, and that's without it even really causing some kind of pain trade because it's only down here. So you'll see. Apple, I know on Friday it took its sweet tushy time in order to bounce towards the end of the day. Some saw me take it on the VTF probably close to 3 o'clock-ish or somewhere around there, and turned into a nice little hammer bottom, little follow through today. You want to talk a little range. Now it seems like it's going sideways here, and let's see if it works its way back to the upper end. Unfortunately, I got out a little bit early today because so many, it just shows you opinions. I came in long and I sent out my note, and if you come back to me, some people get it out there, a lot of people from all different wirehouses, and and then all of a sudden someone sent me their note. Merrill Lynch is neutral on Apple now because they think the deal is out of character. This person doesn't like it. Bernstein thinks it doesn't make sense. So I'm like, ooh, let me get out of the way. All these smart people think it's not great. Me using common sense, I'm like, I like this deal. They're profitable. They make money. Kind of cool factor. Apple, I think, is a reliable product for business. And now maybe with Beats, it's a little cooler, so it helps them compete with Samsung. But whatever. Wound up being up $7, and now I have to work my way back into Apple. I still think at some point it takes out the 600, and then I talked about iPhone to head. By the end of the year, post-split, 100 plus versus 100 minus, or somewhere around there. Anyway, it looks pretty good so far. So, some one-offs. Some people were like, look at Tesla. Tesla, after earnings, really not that exciting, but it has a little bit of room, I guess, to test this gap and test 190-ish. After it failed to get momentum to the downside on Friday, it came up a little bit. I think Solar City is an interesting pattern, and I'm in Solar City. It came out with earnings. Everyone loved it up here. Okay, I think even someone, I'm not going to name names, said, "Don't worry, just buy it. It's the one name you should buy." And then boom. Anyway, you almost have like this descending channel, and I like descending channels. And this one held support right here, probably caught some shorts, and now it's going sideways. And it seems like if it could, get above this area, perhaps you get a move back. I don't think it could, maybe not a blockbuster move, but if tech wants to stay sort of strong, why not see 60? We've seen this type of move before. So something to do if you put on some positions, and if it takes back the 200-day, it could go higher. FSLR was stronger earlier on, and still maneuvering. Still not a A+ type setup, but hanging around, I guess. Just small little trades in there if you're taking it. And then you have some of these bean down names, like really, really, really bean down names. And we've seen a few different Red Dog reversals. So at the end of the day, the VTF is like, Red Dog, look, a Red Dog reversal in Fay. I'm like, this stock gets me all the time. But, it did cross above a prior high. It did have a small Red Dog reversal. It has come from friggin' 90 to here. Maybe it wants to push the envelope a little bit. It doesn't have its lockup until May 21st, so it has room to squeeze a little bit. So I went in a little bit. So you could, by the way, when you watch the recap, you'll see a note. At the end of the note, you'll see my disclosures where it shows what I'm long overnight or short overnight. But if you want to see what I'm doing intraday and listen to the chat room, listen to the radio, you have to join the VTF. So you want to connect the dots between the note and between the VTF and Twitter and the private. There's a lot of things going on. But if you are a professional trader and you're trading all day long, I do think that the virtual trading floor is a spot you should be on. If you're trading here and there and you want to know what's going on in the market, where the action is, then the morning note and off the charts and some of the other products, but not the VTF, because it is a little bit more expensive, and unless you're going to be there all day, it's probably harder to absorb that payment. We also, by the way, if you want to come and check out our office and the studio and get a little education and meet some other traders and some content providers, we're having an open house tomorrow. So I think it starts somewhere around 4:15ish or somewhere around there. You can look at t3live.com, but open house, you can come, you can meet Mark, you can meet me, you'll meet Evan, you'll see some of the traders, you'll see our floor, nice little view, nice area to work, get to see what a trading floor looks like if you've never seen it, and if you have seen it and you trade somewhere else and you're looking for a different environment that you think could add value, you should come check it out tomorrow. As far as the banks, a little bit of action today. Not a blockbuster, but we talked in the morning call that if we're going to break out at all in the S&P, we should see a little bit of a break of this wedge to the upside in the banks. So decent day. We'll see if it continues. I did get back in Bank of America today. I don't think it's a blockbuster type of trade at all, but remember this, breakout failure. That was a spot to get out. Maybe this was a spot to get confirmation of that breakout failure. Now, you did have your first day in a while that actually traded above a prior high, a little bit engulfing. So maybe it wants to retest the 200-day. So if you're looking for something to do, there's some room between here and there. And what's 20 cents between friends, especially if you sold it well. Last time I tried this stock was right here when it looked like it was breaking this wedge to the upside, and I wound up getting stopped out, I think, on this day. So see if it could build. I know JP Morgan's also trying to get into this gap a little bit, so there could be a trade there to fill this back to the 200-day. But these stocks are laggard stocks. These stocks are just type of catch-up plays, perhaps. They're not something that you should be going tier 2 or tier 3. If you come back to me, these are trades. These are trades if you sold it well. You have the opportunity to try and buy it for tactical trades. If you had multiple tiers of it and you got down to your smallest amount, and you're like, oh, let me try some back, see if it builds. Today was a day that some of them looked, sort of decent. I think some people on the floor were looking at Boeing. Boeing is trying to get into this gap, has some room if it wanted to go. Southwest, LUV, probably the strongest airline, trying to break out. I've been looking at Coke a little bit here and there. Still not ready to break out, but at some point, just write down the number. If it gets and stays above 41 with some kind of volume, perhaps that goes. And then, recently I've talked about social media stocks, and I know on Friday I was trying to short Facebook, even on Thursday, and I'm like, okay, if the market's going to break down, because said Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, you didn't know. Okay, you didn't know that's what made the market made you feel. One day it felt like that was it, breakout failure, we're going down, to retest lower levels, and then all of a sudden things look great, look bad. But now, on Thursday, Friday, some guys are like, Red Dog, why are you trying to short key support? That's a hard thing to break. I'm like, you're right. So I stopped shorting it midday, and that's when I actually flipped to get long the spiders and Apple. And then today, didn't try it once short. I'm like, okay, it held. Let me give it some room. And some people made some money actually on the long side on Facebook. For me, I took a little bit in the afternoon, and at this point, this was considered a quality name. This does have earnings. This did have the acquisitions. It took back the 8 and 21 day. So I said, okay, I will buy a little bit of Facebook. It closed on the highs of the day and see what happens. It did not break this area. It didn't confirm this bigger head and shoulders pattern. Okay, this one was confirmed, right? This one broke below, held below, continued. This one, not really. It's just a channel. It hasn't even confirmed upside, but at least it maybe, could give you a trade. And if you covered here, at least you have the opportunity to maybe short some strength versus get caught in the middle if that's what's going to happen here. We talked about that bottom tail in LinkedIn. It, nice little move off this bottom tail. Now it looks as if it, trying to head towards the 21-day at 158. Yelp was a little lethargic today, but this too, switching gears. I know it's been a weak stock, and if you got out up here or you got out when it broke this or whatever it was, whenever you got out, this was your bottom tail, sign to maybe cover some shorts, look a little long. And this too, I feel like, a lot of these things can come up and retest the 21-day. And if they've already reclaimed the 21-day, that means that, it's probably a little bit better, a little stronger, and that's something you could stay with a little bit more. And that's really it. So today, everyone's going to go home, and they're going to see all-time highs in the S&P, all-time highs in the Dow, NASDAQ acting better. Hopefully, you had a little bit of an open mind. I don't think it's off the races. I don't think you could just, buy, but you could do some selective buying. If you're watching us in the VTF or you're listening to some of the guys in the chat room or talking about what they're doing, there was some things to do between Friday and today, and now it gets a little trickier, right? We talk about day 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of these things started Monday, got some follow through today, so tomorrow maybe you get a little bit more, but that's day 3, which makes it trickier. But it doesn't mean it's just a short. Doesn't mean you start fighting the trend, especially if you were buying on the way down and you weren't catching a bid, and then all of a sudden now these things have some room to rally. If they want to loosen up and you just start shorting it, you got to check your process. You're going against the grain. You're looking for that opposite side of the trade. Darcy always corrects me, the revision to the mean trade, whatever it's called, whatever. It's Monday. I should know that right here, but it is what it is. Just make it easier. Simplify it a little bit. You don't have to be all in. You don't have to be all out. You don't have to have excessive opinions. Just keep maneuvering. Use your tactics. Try and stay optimistic. Try and stay positive. And if you do, you're going to wind up seeing it better. If you had a few green days last week, maybe today was one of your better days because you did have some clean moves. Things really didn't pull back. There were some spots to buy and there were some key levels to watch. And I think that continues moving forward. So if you happen to miss today, don't just revenge tomorrow. Put yourself in a better position to capitalize. Scott Redler, T3 Live. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good night.